Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We are on Chapter 8, Communicating for Results. And here we are having the answers. I know last week we had a lot of questions. This week we got a lot of answers. So I'm going to go over this. This is very, very crucial. This is how to have good communication. And this is really can be a game changer for you if you really work hard at this. And it's very, very simple. I tried to make it easy by saying H.O.T. The secret to good communication is H.O.T, hot. So in searching for a way to make these communication tools more memorable, precisely when we need them, I came up with 3 letters to formulate a mnemonic device. Some people love these kinds of cute cues to jolt their memory in the heat of battle. But if it's not your thing, the information here will work just as well without it. The key is whenever you're about to open your mouth, think about these 3 factors. The word is hot, and it stands for H is how you say it. How you say it. How can you say the words more effectively? By changing your wording, by changing your tone, by changing it into a form of a question. Thinking and planning how to say it before you speak will avoid so many misunderstandings and hurt feelings. Okay, now we're up to the O. Outcome desired. Use your Bina, your wisdom and understanding to guide your intuition. Is what you're about to say going to accomplish what you hope to achieve? Or will it just put your husband on the defensive? We talked about that a lot last show. Will your words simply prove that you are right, or will they open the door to a harmonious resolution? Are you sacrificing the long-term gain of shalom bayis, harmony, for the short-term gain of winning a fight? Okay, got it? Oh, yeah, good. Everybody's nodding. Okay, T is for timing, H-O-T. T is for timing. Is this the most productive time to bring up the issue? If you wait until after dinner, will things go better? Have you recently complained about so many things that bringing this up now will just add to the pile? Learning the best timing for each issue is crucial to communication effectiveness. Okay, let's go through each letter in detail, but remember, whenever you're about to say something, freeze, think hot. Consider the timing. If now or later is better, consider what outcome you want and then plan how best to say it. Your communication effectiveness is about to skyrocket. Ready, guys? Okay, here we go. How you say it. You're in a business meeting seated around a conference table. Your boss makes a point, and the opposing side argues that they should get paid first from the deal. You pipe up, "We're the company delivering the goods. By all rights, we should get paid first." The opposing CEO waits a long moment, exhales, and then finally nods his acquiescence. You win the point. On the way down in the elevator, choose which comment you would prefer to hear from your boss. Choice number A. Letter A, right? Okay. Boy, you really put them on the defensive. You should have had a much softer tone. For a minute there, I thought we were going to lose the whole deal. Please think before you speak. Okay, that's choice A. Choice B. You were great in the meeting today. Thanks for bolstering my point. Of course you were right. Maybe next time state your comment like a question to soften it a bit, like, if you were the company delivering the goods, wouldn't you think you should get paid first? That might put them less on the defensive. But no big worries. It went great and you came across right on top of things. Which comment makes you want to crawl under a rock and maybe even retaliate against your boss in some way? And which comment makes you feel better about your boss, better about yourself, and more apt to work harder to changing your tone? As we all know, how things are said is often as important as what is said, and yet few people take the time to be vigilant in their choice of tone or words. There's a prevailing attitude to just say it like it is. Bluntness is seen as being bold and powerful. People shoot comments from the hip to prove how clever they are, even if the effects are emotionally devastating to others. Sometimes people complain bitterly, "I always have to walk on eggshells around her." But in fact, that's actually a fantastic skill to learn. We should all walk on eggshells around everyone. What are people thinking when they use their God-given gift of speech to hurt other people? Don't they know how awful it feels when someone says something unkind to them? No one knows what caused this lack of sensitivity in our society, but we obviously want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Our daily communication habits not only deeply affect how enjoyable our own life is, but they have a profound effect on our relationship with our husband. The better we become at communicating, the better our marriage will be, plain and simple. Okay, let's hear from you guys.
Okay, so Tamar says, it's so hard to remember in the moment how to say something. How can I remember in the moment?
So, I mean, it depends on what you're saying. If it's hard to remember, like, oh, I want to order some French fries, that whatever, doesn't make a difference. But if you're going to be sitting there and you're going to be talking to your husband about the fact that you're really upset because he always leaves the front door unlocked and you're worried at night, and sometimes you come up, in the morning and you realize the door is unlocked and it's really bothers you, and so-and-so's house down the street was robbed and you're just feeling very nervous about it. That is something that can be planned. Anything that can be planned should be planned. So if you're thinking about it, let's see, my husband, he comes home, he's the last one, I'm already in bed when he comes home from learning or whatever it is, he comes home from work and he just forgets to lock the door. How will I get him to lock the door? Well, let's see. Should I ask him, should I put a Post-it note? Does that help? Should I get a little recorder? You have these things maybe when he walks by it, like a garage door open and it clicks and says, don't forget to shut the door, lock the door. Should I get that? Oh, how about I'll get a self-locking lock? There are locks, you just shut the door and you have to press a code to get back in or whatever. So maybe it's not safe with kids. I don't know. You have to make these decisions, but there are locks that he just shuts the door and the door is locked. So you have to use your bina sera, your women's intuition, your seichel, your brains, you have to talk to friends, you have to Google it, do some research on it, figure it out, go to the library, read a book, find solutions, make a plan. And then when you come to your husband, you're talking about something really crucial and important to you about locking the front door. You say, here are the 5 things I thought of. Number 1, we can get a self-locking thing. Number 2, we can get a garage door noisemaker. I can put Post-it notes. I can text you and just don't answer that text. So it looks unread text. It looks unread. I don't know, whatever. You think of 5 different ways that it could go. So when you do talk to him, you're not saying mean, nasty things. You're giving him potential ways to solve the problem. So I think the big issue here is the fact that there's not enough planning. Again, on big things. On little things, you don't have to make yourself nuts. But the more you get into the habit of planning how you're going to say it, the better your communication is going to go. And guess what, ladies? It's not just like you're going to have a better relationship with your husband. Okay, that's great. That's awesome. That's the goal. Okay. But it also means that whatever it is you're negotiating is going to go well. If you just say, why didn't you lock the door? Good luck with that. You're going to be doing that for 20 years. But if you think about it and plan and present some solutions, you might make some progress. Okay, good. Great question. Let's go.
Okay, so Tehila asks, when I try to use H.O.T, my husband says, stop acting fake. I don't like it. Every time I try to better myself, he tells me that I'm acting fake and gets annoyed. Help.
Oh, boy. I would sit down with him and say, every time I try and improve myself, you say I'm being fake. I'm trying to, the Vilna Gaon says our whole point in being alive is to improve our character traits. You tell me, husband, take the problem and you're putting it in his hand. For those of you who are listening on the podcast, I'm taking my hands and cupping them and then handing the cup to my big bowl to my husband to give the solution. So you're handing the problem to him and say, tell me what to do. How do you think I want to improve myself. I want to be better. I want to be a better wife. I want to be a better mom. I want to be a better person in my life. I want to be closer to God. I want to I want to improve God's pride in my actions and in the mitzvahs that I do. But every time I try, you say I'm fake. So I'm not sure what part of this is fake, what part bothers you. Talk to me, and just mind his brain and figure out maybe he's right. Maybe he feels, maybe he has a history of some people, reading every self-help book and still being a jerk. I don't know why he's not agreeable or open to your growth and your change. Maybe he's jealous. That's perfectly fine. You're supposed to be jealous of people's spiritual heights and spiritual growth, and maybe that's his way of slowing you down. And you can tell him that. Say, I know people, when somebody else, somebody's on a diet and they're losing weight, and they're like, it's not really working. Or somebody gives you an insult to kind of shoot you down because they themselves should be on a diet or doing whatever, whatever you're growing in, they feel bad about. So, they make the same rotation of meals every week, okay, that's nice as this, that's nice as that, whatever, which is fine. You don't have to make yourself crazy. But then there's somebody who comes along and they just get into it. They get in their creativity. They buy different things. They, read different books about it, different articles, different whatever, and they try and change it up. So someone said, Betsy, she's always trying 10 different things. She never she doesn't have her act together or whatever. They can give most of it's out of jealousy that this person is growing and trying to have self-mastery and creativity and pour it into, it's their way, it's their outlet of showing their individuality and their contribution and their love of their family and so forth. So they should shoot them down. So it could be that your husband's a little bit, confronted or, feels, what's that word I'm looking for? Like, not competitive. That wouldn't be a healthy thing. And there are couples who are competitive and they need to work on it and read books about it and go to help about it, because that's not a healthy dynamic. It's like your left and your right hand aren't competitive. It's like you guys are the same team. So if you have competition with your husband, you need to really work on that. But it could be that when he sees people grow, it makes him feel like he needs to be doing something. He needs to take action. So it's better to just put you down. So you need to explore all these things in an open conversation. If you do not think you can have an open conversation with him about this, then you need to get a third party so that you can discuss these issues. And some people are really good at writing. It could be you write a whole letter about it, but sometimes when you write a letter and hand it to somebody, sometimes it can be very productive, and I do recommend it on certain things. Sometimes you put it in there just like, oh, she's just trying to build a case against me. So you have to weigh that out. Okay, great question.
Okay, beautiful. So Hannah asks, when I try to communicate something that is bothering me that he does, he gets really defensive. How do I communicate that he won't get defensive?
That's a very, very good question. And in fact, getting putting someone on the defensive is super easy. 2 seconds. It's like it's the natural course of life, and all bad mitos can be sourced in following the natural course of life, and all good mitos, all good character traits, all are sourced in a determination to do the right thing, the ethical thing, over your natural inclination. So that battle and this is Revolbi Revuruchim, that battle of self-control or whatever is the battle we all fight every day and get better at, hopefully over time, so that you gain mastery over it and, feel better about yourself. This is a lot of core of self-esteem. But to answer this question, you have a way of saying things that, why did you leave that dish on the table? Or is it possible that that's your key? Is it possible? Write that in big bold letters. Is it possible that I did all the dishes and whatever, and I'd really appreciate it if you put your dish in the sink, whatever. There's always a way of saying it. So you really need to do a lot of self-analysis, especially if you're married to a man. God gave you a man who was overly defensive. Like some people, you'd say, "Oh, that I don't like how you arrange the books in the bookcase." And so one guy goes, "Oh, how do you want them done?" Another guy will say, well, "That's how I like them, and now I can find them the way I want." It's just different makeup. God gave you a defensive husband, so that means, why did God do that? I don't know, but why could have God have perhaps done that? Is perhaps to teach you how to deal with somebody who's overly hypersensitive, defensive. So that might mean saying, thank you so much for putting the books in the bookshelf. I really appreciate it. But, alphabetical order is harder to find than by by context, like these books should be the how-tos, these should be the, I don't know, I'm making the story up as I go along, but I'm just saying that thinking about how you word it, and we're going to get into that next show. Think about how you word it is crucial to not having your husband be on the defensive, and most importantly, to communicating for results. For not that he does everything that you want. That's not the results we're looking for. The results we're looking for is closeness. Closeness. We want closeness. What is our objective? Yeah, we'd like the books organized the way we want. I hear that. That's fine. Is it more important that the books are organized the way we want, or that we're close to our husbands? And hopefully we can have both. So the way to do that is to learn how to communicate with results that doesn't put them on the defensive. And we're going to be learning that. Okay, stay tuned. Stay tuned, everybody. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, beautiful. Okay, so Simi asks, if most of the time our discussions end in bad arguments, is it better to avoid the conversations while I work on giving my husband more control and letting him share more, or is it important to still have those fails while I'm doing my best to improve?
Very good question. I mean, I'd have to know all the specific circumstances. That's too broad of a question, but in general, as you're growing and giving your husband more control and doing all the things getting your needs met, getting your appreciation bucket filled, all the things we've been talking about this whole time, as you're getting and giving him more respect and giving him more control and praising him more and thanking him more, so more bracha comes into your home. As you're doing all these things, all these areas, other areas, these minutiae, all of them are going to improve. So to answer your question about should you have these battles, my inclination would be to have them be as short as possible. I wouldn't necessarily cut out, because how are you going to not, have conflicts? Every couple has their ability or lack of ability to get through conflicts well. Our daily life is filled with conflicts. And some, there'll be little things that, a couple who's newly married, the woman cannot believe that the husband grabs the toothpaste by the middle of the tube and squeezes it there. And then the bottom stuff is left all smushed. When she's like blown away how you could be, you wouldn't roll it from the bottom or whatever, she's used to from her family. A newly married woman is just can't believe that. Why would someone take their shoes off under the table, leave their shoes there, and then spend 4 hours looking for them on their way to work the next day? Like, there's certain things that just bug us like crazy. Like we're totally insane over it, and a woman doesn't understand this. So her level of ability to communicate the small things and the big things and whatever is you have to learn your communication styles. And people develop into bad communication habits, and then they never revisit it. Why do you take your shoes off under the table? Come on, you're going to be looking for them for 4 hours tomorrow morning on your way to work. Why don't you just put them by the door? Well, I didn't think of it then, whatever. And they just have these stupid battles all the time. And the reason I call them stupid battles is because it's based on, there's not any planning involved in that communication. If there was planning, she would say, when you take your shoes off under the table, do you mind if I remind you to put them by the front door or put them in the closet or whatever? Or do you mind if I put them in the closet, or whatever it is? Thinking about, how am I going to communicate this for results? How am I going to make this life better, rather than just constant battle? And he needs to do it my way, and he's thinking she should just leave me alone, or she should do it my way, or whatever. Everyone has to learn their communication styles, and we need a lifelong commitment to increasing our ability to communicate well. And if our communication, especially about, big topics and huge conflicts, if it ain't good, we need to learn. And that means either reading a book or speaking with somebody or talking to somebody who's happily long time married, or getting a marriage secrets coach or whatever to teach you and train you how to communicate better with your husband. Or go to a therapist, a third party. So when he says, I can't believe she's so annoying, she makes me put my shoes from under the table and puts them, back in the closet. It's such annoying. What am I, a baby? Am I 2 years old that she's treating me that way? And the therapist will say, what would you like her to do? And you say, well, I'd like her to just leave them there. Well, do you think that would be reasonable for her to sit and have the shoes under the table, and you having a fit the next day, interrupting her while she's diapering the babies, the next day looking for your shoes? Well, I hear that, and then he hears it, and then she learns how to communicate better with him, and he hears better how to hear her. So some couples really need that third party to teach them how to communicate in a healthy way, how to communicate in a way that brings closeness instead of defensiveness and anger and silent treatment and bitterness and resentment and whatever. If you can't learn that on yourself, and it's no shame in not learning by yourself. Nobody taught this. Again, we learned math, science, arithmetic. We learned all this stuff in school. Why isn't there a whole curriculum on communication? I have no idea. Maybe you'll start it. Maybe someone listening to this will say, I'm going to be the woman or the person who makes this happen in the world, but anyway, whatever. Until then, we're going to go on with our shows, and we're going to teach you exactly how to do the best communication possible. Okay, very good. Okay, what else you got? I think we got time for one more question.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Rena asks, we've been learning so many amazing tools, and while I'm so grateful, I'm also overwhelmed. I feel like Shalom Bayis is a full-time job on its own, plus my actual job and my kids running our lives. It feels so unattainable.
Brilliant question. Here's the thing. We are probably the most frenzied generation since time began. Okay. 100 years ago, when you were giving the kids a bath, you were giving the kids a bath. When you were doing the laundry, that was your laundry day. And the whole day you were just doing your laundry and looking out at the forest or whatever, whatever, the shtetl, wherever you lived. Now we're doing the laundry, ordering our groceries, cooking dinner, doing a diaper, arranging a play date for this one, ordering gifts for the birthday party for next week and getting a tablecloth. I mean, it's nuts how frazzled we are. So here's what you got to know. There's one answer, and it's gorgeous. And that is, if you focus and make Shalom Bayis your number one priority in your life, the most important thing, right? You have to know something. Also, Hashem's, God's number one priority is Shalom. And Shalom starts with Shalom Bayis. Peace starts with peace in the home, okay? So if you are focusing on what is singly most important to God, which is Shalom, God will bring blessing into your home. So let's say you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, and you've got a kid who's having his tooth is whatever, he needs some kind of dental work, and you have you need to get the things for the Shever brachas, and you need to order all the pastries, and you've got a million things doing. If you stop what you're doing and make your husband his favorite meal, or get him a gift, or say thank you to him more, or give him more respect, do something. We've got lots and lots of lists of things we've been going through in the shows. You do something to bring your husband closer, to create more Shalom Bayis in your home. If you do one thing, God will make the pastry bakery call and say, oh yeah, we're having a half price sale. Here it is. And your son who needed the dental work could go back to the dentist, and he said, oh, isn't that funny? It repaired itself. You don't have to come back for 6 months every week like I told you. God can do anything. And if you focus on Shalom Bayis, if we all focus on Shalom Bayis, bracha will come pouring into our home. This is not Leah Richheimer's great idea. This is a guarantee from Hashem himself. We have a 3,000-year-old track record, bulletproof, guaranteed to work. And this is a try this at home. You'll see, you'll start putting your husband first and start doing things for him and taking care of him. And it's like you'll be freed up in your life. It's like, where's all the frazzle? Where's all the frenzy? Try this at home. Okay, so the homework for today is, one time this week, you are going to think about how you're going to say it. So you're about to say something, your husband comes in, you're about to say it, you're going to freeze, and you're going to think, either I'm just not going to say it now because I can't think on my toes. Some people can think right on their toes. Some people need to process and think and whatever, and it's fine however you are. But take it into consideration in your communication if you want better results. So one time this week, when you're about to say something, think, is this how I want to say it? Okay, good luck, everybody. We'll see you next week. This is Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show. If you want more, we have so much more. If you want to learn our Masorah and have an awesome marriage, the first thing we have is a foundations course. It's a 13-week course. You get all your questions answered. It's live with me, and you can ask Q&A. It's awesome. Second thing we have is a coaching program. If you are awesome with people and you want to know the Masora better than 99% of the people on the planet Earth, like for reals, okay? It's a 4-month program. It's very intense. We have major scholarships, and we have somebody who's granted in a lot to pay for a big bulk of it. It's still a little expensive, but for what you get, and then you can start charging money to know it. That's the coaching program. Don't miss it. Go to www.ladiestalkshow.com. Look up the foundations course, look up the coaching. We do retreats, we do all kinds of stuff. You'll find it there. www.ladiestalkshow.com. Thanks for being with us. Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show.